And God has given you this precious gift of salvation. This wonderful gift. You're going to go to heaven. And he said, don't neglect so great a salvation. Jesus went to the cross so that you could be saved. Don't neglect that. That's why the Apostle Paul said, I've kept the faith. I've finished my course. I didn't neglect my salvation. How great a salvation is it? It's so great of salvation that Jesus was sent down from the Father. So great a salvation, he was born of a virgin, miraculous. So great a salvation that he was protected from Herod trying to kill him. So great a salvation that he lived a perfect life. So great a salvation at the age of 30 he began to preach and he performed miracles. And people listened to him and their lives were transformed and people heard truth for the first time. How great a salvation. He performed miracle after miracle. Eyes that were blind were opened, deaf ears could hear, lame could walk, demon-possessed now were delivered, dead were raised from the dead. How great a salvation. How great a salvation that Jesus came to the earth, did all these wonderful miracles, and yet at the end of his ministry was betrayed. At the end of his ministry, the people turned on him. He came in his own, but what happened? His own received. We don't want Jesus. We don't believe him. He was, listen, influenced by the Pharisees and the scribes and the priests and the religious leaders said, we don't want him. He's not the one. He's not the Messiah. Despite all the miracles, how great a salvation. Jesus went to the cross knowing that he was innocent. How great a salvation. He stood before Caiaphas, proclaimed himself to be the Son of God. Blasphemy, they said. How great a salvation. He stood before Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate had to admit, I find no fault in him. How great a salvation. People were given the option, who do you want us to set free? They said, set free Barabbas, crucify Jesus. How great a salvation. He was given a crown of thorns. How great a salvation. He was whipped on his back with a cat of nine tails. How great a salvation. He laid down on a wooden cross after carrying it through the streets of Jerusalem and felt nails go through his hands and through his feet and be hoisted up. How great a salvation. People walked past him, laughed at him, mocked him, said, come down off the cross. You saved others, save yourself. Even a thief beside him was mocking him and laughing at him the whole time.